Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's going on, everyone? Thought I'd put a quick video here together on my lunch break right now. So someone sent me a video. I was checking it out, and I heard some points made. We're talking about the stuff going on with Trudeau up in Canada as it pertains to the trucker convoy. Now, you guys know, if you've been watching the channel, pretty much what my stance is on that. I support, standing up for what you believe in, okay? I think there should be some more of that here. And what Trudeau is trying to do, well, understand, man, you work for the people. If the people want it gone, then it should be gone. Now, that being said, there are some people who say, like, it's a large chunk of the truckers, but does the majority of the country feel in line with them? Now, I'm not up there. I can tell you this. It seems like the mainstream media's talking point is that the country doesn't support what they're trying to do. But, and if it's a minority of people who want this change to happen, then unfortunately they still a lot of times have to kind of accept what the majority want. But I still don't blame them for standing up for what they believe in. Especially in the United States, you're supposed to have the right to do that, right? But an argument was made in one of these videos trying to talk about this. The argument was made by someone where they said basically, well, this is why Medicare for all would be such a terrible idea, because the state's in charge of it. So you can't look for anything the state has a hand in. You need to get away from that. You should cut all ties to having anything that the state supplies to you. They even said that mandating people getting health care is no different than mandating that people take the vaccine. And that is one of the stupidest things I think I've ever heard. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought that shit would have came out of what the hell's his name? Brian whatever from Fox and Friends, right? Like the morning show guy, Brian something. I don't remember his last name, but you guys probably know who I'm talking about, right? I would have thought that would have came out of his mouth. Like that just sounds like straight Republican propaganda. Okay? No. Putting something in place that allows people to have health care so that they don't go bankrupt from expensive medical debt is not the same thing as making people take a shot they might not want. Like, if you're going to sit there and say, well, I don't want health care. Oh, well, okay, go in there and pay $500 in one freaking shot, for whatever you racked up. To put it in context for you here, guys, okay? I've got health insurance now. This is how screwed up, because his point was, if you leave it in the government, well, the government has to administrate it, and that's going to be terrible. It's not going to be a good plan. As opposed to what we got now, because what I've got now, I got $1,000 deductible. And until I cross, and by the way, premiums and copays, or maybe copays do, but I know premiums do not go towards that deductible. That I know. Or at least it doesn't on mine. And from my understanding, it doesn't on most plans. But mine, no. Like that $400 a month you're paying or whatever for the family plan does not go towards that $1,000 deductible. Nope. So, when I have to get an MRI done on my hand, well, you hadn't met your $1,000 deductible yet. Now, if you did, we would cover this much of it. It's still not even going to cover the whole fucking thing. Still, not even going to cover the whole thing. But once I've shelled $1,000 out of pocket, they will then cover so much of it. But if I haven't, well, then I've got to just pay for it out of pocket, which then results in about $500. $500 just to get a scan of my hand done to see what this freaking lump is right here, right? Okay, or let's talk about my most recent visit when I went to the doctor. Now, I got some fairly good news. I have cut some weight. My blood pressure is back down, but I still got trouble in my left knee. And the doctor recommended, he's like, well, let's try a cortisone shot. Does that sound okay today? He was about to go full on with it until I stopped and I said, well, what else would it cost me today? Just to see, right? Just to get a shot in my knee. Well, then they would have to do this to look at it and this and that. And so as a result, they said it would be almost an additional $400 to $500. $400 to $500. Time out. Call it off. So if you would prefer to have this profit-driven, price gouging system, as opposed to a system that a lot of other developed countries have, where you go in, get it done, and don't have to walk away paying some massive bill for it, and you'll get cheaper prescription drugs because they don't allow the companies to just price gouge. That's a bad thing to you? Oh, because the state's controlling it. The state's controlling it. Now, look, guys, I will tell you this. Our current system we got right now, our current politicians in place would handle a Medicare for all system, in my opinion, about as well as they handle Social Security, which is very, very poorly. I will give that much. I do think we need different people in place to run this thing, because the people up there right now are, one, either incompetent and can't handle it, or two, they're deliberately going to run it poorly because they're bought off. They're bought off to support the current corrupt systems that are in place right now. So why would they try to run things any differently? I mean, it would probably have a lot of problems if it was being ran by the current people. Okay? And yes, anything the state does can be held over your head, but a lot of this junk you've got right now is causing more and more and more and more people to either die, not be able to afford their medications, or not be able to afford the things that get done to their body. Now, I bet you this guy who made all these comments would be in favor of having the police around. Okay? He's been very vocal about that a lot too, like law and order, law and order. Well, of course, now the law is after these truckers, and now he's kind of backing off on that stance a little bit. Oh, because some of the things they said could happen, some of the detractors of law enforcement have said they'd be the ones to enforce restricting your freedoms if it ever came to that. But because he didn't like Black Lives Matter burning a town down, we need more law enforcement. And I agree to that to some extent. There's a difference between a peaceful protest and a riot. I said that last year when everything was going on too. Okay? But at the same time, here's the thing. Okay? The police are basically a form of socialism. Firemen, same thing. Okay? These people are there for the community because they say you have a right to call them if you need to. Your utilities are a lot of times helped to be funded by the state. Now, it might be a private company like Duke Energy or whatever, or something like that, or your local water. Okay, but you expect them like that. There's mandates that if you build in these homes, they got to have them there, right? Okay, so what happens, because it's a public utility, that they could always come in and try to cut that off if they ever wanted to, right? That they could try to manipulate you in all sorts of ways. You're not sitting there telling everyone to basically go live off the grid. You're not making that argument. But the argument, you don't want the state involved in having better health care, and that it'd be the same thing as mandating people to take a vaccine. No, it is not. No, it is not. Now, again, some of my more libertarian friends, so like say Reed, for example. Me and Reed would probably have some disagreements when it comes to like the whole Medicare for all thing. There are certain points that I think he did. I really agree with him on. Like, for example, the people in charge right now certainly would not run it properly. But this notion that would be worse than continuing to allow these private enterprises to just make bundles and bundles and bundles of profit. No. Sorry. The facts just don't support that at the end of the day. I mean, there are certain things I don't think the free market is bad for. That's why I'm more in favor of a mixed type thing. There are a lot of things where I'm in favor because I think the competition does help reduce prices for the benefit of the consumer. And you could argue with our current systems that we got now, that might really be true too. But ultimately, okay, the problem that you've got goes outside of insurance, okay? Right now, if it's a private business for your insurance, their goal is still to make money. And if you have certain things about you that make you more of a health risk, or statistically would make you more of a health risk, you're going to pay higher wages for that. Now, some people would say that's only fair, but here's where nuance comes in. We're not just looking at basic statistics like you're dealing with a car, for example, right? Okay? We are people. We are not machines. Now, is it possible that there are some people who just do things they don't have to do to live very unhealthy? Absolutely there are. There are things I do in my day-to-day life that don't exactly contribute to my overall health. Okay? A lot of people do it. But at the same time, look at the world around you. If you're a middle-class, blue-collar, working American, you have to be able to live within your means. You got to be able to live on what money you make. Now, if you're not bringing home a boatload of money and you're paying your bills, you're trying to stay above water, you're probably not going out and eating these high-quality 5-star meals all the time, right? You probably eat McDonald's. You probably eat some fast food, maybe some Wendy's, Maybe you eat pizza. Maybe you're eating ramen noodles, which high in sodium. Poor people, to put this in layman's terms, poor people have to eat a lot of things that aren't necessarily the best things for them to eat. They also put up with a lot of stress from debt and worrying about having enough money, so they stress themselves out. They're not eating good food. They're not getting good diet. They're not these subdivision fuckers who are out here going jogging and running and blah, blah, blah. And we go to the YMCA. Like that's not what a lot of the average blue collar people can do. That's more upper middle class, bougie type folks, okay? The normal little guy doesn't get to live that kind of lifestyle, which will then contribute to obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, risk of stroke, heart attack, high cholesterol, back issues, joint issues, bad knees, bad neck. I already deal with a few of those. And they either will charge you astronomical premiums every single month, or if there's nothing to guarantee you health care, they just deny you health care because you're too much of a risk. Well, when you tell them they can't deny it, okay, we won't deny it, but we'll make it so outrageous you can't fucking afford it. Because you're at a higher risk of us having to pay out money And that's what we don't want to do. That's why we set the cap so high. We don't pay for almost any damn thing until you've paid all this out, and you might not even be able to meet that amount of money with the things you are doing. So guess what? We don't pay out shit. And even if you do meet that threshold, or we do start paying out money, we're still not even going to cover the whole thing. We'll cover a percentage if it meets this requirement, if it's done this way, if it's in network. Like, oh my God, the fucking loopholes with this shit is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Okay? Now I can understand someone being questionable about the state because of who's in charge controlling your health care. But if you can look me dead in the face and tell me that you don't think having the government that's supposed to be working for you, see, that's the problem. The government we got right now don't work for us anymore. Actually, they work for the same people who are fucking you over in the current system in a lot of cases. They work for Big Pharma. They work for the insurance companies. They work for the banks. They work for the military industrial complex. They work for the corporations. And so you think having them run it wouldn't work out. Well, you're probably right because they're bought by those people. But guess what? They also, the people that bought them off, control your current system. That's why your current system ain't worth a shit. And they bought off the politicians to make sure that their golden egg laying goose continues to lay those eggs and generate lots and lots and lots of profit for them. So, if you truly believe that having the people that are supposed to be public servants, and again, there needs to be reforms for this to work properly, I agree with that. But if you think having the people that are supposed to be public servants elected to do the work, elected by the people, of the people, by the people, for the people, okay? If you think having them put a system in place to be like most other developed countries so that people can have a surgical procedure or just visit the doctor or go to the emergency room or whatever they've got to do, that people can do that without worrying about complete and utter bankruptcy, potentially losing their home, etc., then you think having a system to protect from these sort of things is worse than the system right now that is contributing to poor health, medical bankruptcies left, right, and sideways, causing people to go homeless from it, and because of all that stress contributes to suicides and things of that nature. And you think having a system that tries to help against that is worse than having what you've got right now? You're one of two things. You're either really fucking stupid or you're a Republican hack. Or maybe you're just a neo-Democrat right-wing hack that calls themselves a Democrat, like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton. But it is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, some of these people, man, good God almighty. What? I hope Republican Kool-Aid tastes good. I'm never gonna take one drink of it. But for the people who do, because they're trying to fit in with whatever little camp they think is trendy this week, man, I hope the shit really tastes good, because you sure look like a complete dumbass drinking it day after day after day. But what do you guys think? Which system do you think actually is going to work the better, and what should we have? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. Try to get to another live stream. Had a lot going on getting this studio finished up, so hopefully we can get another live stream done again pretty soon. We'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone.